So what you're going to see today is me opening up and sharing my story, but also the bits in between where I've hit rock bottom and found a way out, I guess. But I've tried to be vulnerable. I've tried to open up, be authentic, and hopefully through me opening up, you will also do the same. Where we can talk, where we can share, where we can be vulnerable, the more we will encourage others to do the same, because it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable, and it's okay to ask for help, because every one of us, we need someone, we need the support around us, because it will only make us stronger. So please sit back, watch it, enjoy it, question it, challenge it, but remember that we've all been on this journey, and I know that me sharing my story will hopefully support and help you as well. So I'm Maggie Alphonsi, former England women's rugby player, or legend to some people, and I am a TV rugby broadcaster, as well as I deliver leadership talks as well, and I work as a director for a health insurance company. So all my career has been at Saracens. It's very much my home, and it's the club that defined me and started me and created me, if I'm honest. And then, 2015, I retired. And then my career sort of ended in terms of playing rugby, and then moved into broadcasting. So I did stuff before, but my first real, big job was back in 2015, working on the Men's Rugby World Cup over here in England for ITV. I'm not going to lie to you, a bit nervous, especially because I was at the time the first female rugby player to fall into that world, and everyone else obviously was men, and it's quite rare to see a woman talk about the version of the game that was men's rugby. But I'll be honest, I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to crack on. I think it was France versus Romania. That was the game. And I was working alongside Sean Fitzpatrick, the New Zealand legend. And the presenter was Craig Doyle. People who I kind of had met before, obviously in awe of both of them. But I just thought, wait, I've won a Rugby World Cup. I'm just going to settle in here. And I enjoyed it. I absolutely loved it, and I didn't think about any enormity around it. I mean, social media wasn't that big really at the time, and even if it was, I didn't really check what people's comments would be. But that was the first time when I got onto the pathway. And after that, I remember thinking, oh, I want to continue this. But at the same time, there's a part of me that also felt a little bit pressure and anxiety, because you fall into a world like that where, again, most of the time, most people in the environment were men, obviously, and well-established men, people who had been playing the sport for a very long time. I was a sort of newbie on the scene. Again, I was a woman, obviously sort of developing my craft, and I just felt at the time, enjoyment of it, but then at the same time, the level of anxiety, the stress, the pressure, because every time you felt like you was in front of the camera, it wasn't about letting myself down. I just didn't want to let other women down. I didn't want to go on there and then not make sense or not be opinionative, and then people be like, oh, women shouldn't be on telly. Oh, she's only on telly because she's ticking the right boxes. I just wanted to make sure that I could be a good representation of women, people of colour, etc. I wanted to be someone who was just a good role model, who was visible. So I did feel that anxiety every time I went on the telly. And then you reach a point where you do start to check social media, and then you think, there's people who say some good stuff, and then there's others who say some bad stuff, and then you're listening to the people who say the bad stuff. You're like, first, why am I even checking it? And who cares what they say? But that does sink in a little bit. So that took time to find the real me in that, because I wanted to fit in. So I was thinking at the time, if I need to fit in, I've got to be a bit more like David Flatman, or I've got to be more like Will Greenwood, or whatever, Hugo Monye. I've got to be like them. That's how I'm going to fit in. And the reality was, it wasn't about being like others. I've learnt this now, to be the best broadcaster, you've got to be broad, you've got to be able to appeal to lots of different people, but at the same time, you've got to be authentic, you've got to bring your real self. And I still remember there's one social media tweet that someone said, which still sticks with me today, and he was like, oh, Maggie's so fake. And I still remember looking and going, you don't know me. But yeah, this was some random person on social media. And for some reason, his words actually did sink in a little bit. But it did almost branch out to get me thinking a bit more, and it kept making me think, Maggie, maybe you are trying to be like others. Be you. So now I do try and be my authentic self. I'm just going to be me, and people are going to hate you or like you, whatever you do. So instead of trying to please them, which I don't care about, it's more about pleasing yourself and enjoying your experience whilst you're there. That's become my goal now. Have I ever had to hide my emotions? I would probably say I haven't had to hide my emotions. I think the only times where I feel like I actually have hidden my emotions has been in situations where I didn't want to, I guess, meet the stereotype of being, I guess what some might say, a black angry girl or an emotional distressed woman. So in those environments when it could have been perceived as being that, I have bit my lip, I have put a stern face on, and I've just got through it. So they're the only times I've had to really hide my emotions. So I guess I would say I hit rock bottom when I was playing and I picked up an injury. And for some people it might be really insignificant. You got low after you got injured, and injury is part of sport, regardless of the sport that you're in. But I picked up quite a severe injury with regards to my knee. I basically tore my meniscus, which for me was equivalent to almost doing your ACL. So I was out for 22 months, I think it was in total, which it was challenging because I had the injury, and then in my head I just thought, operation, rehab, I'll be back. It's not that easy. Lesson learned. It took a while before I had my operation because initially I thought I'd just rehab it and I'd get myself back. And then they were like, it's not getting better, so you need to have an operation. Had the operation. And all of a sudden it feels like when you get injured, I know you've got your teammates around you, but when you get injured, you're on your own. It just felt like you were like everyone just disconnected with you because you're sapping their energy because they're having to make you feel happy and positive. And 24/7, all I kept thinking about was my knee, my injury. That was on my mind all the time. And there was times when I'd wake up and think, no, I'm fine, I can run around. And then I'd be like, no, you cannot run around. And then who do you lean on? Again, like I said, all my eggs were in one basket. It was all about rugby. And I even worked for the Rugby Football Union at the time. So again, everything I did was in rugby. I couldn't get away from it. And that's when I really hit my low because I was seeing rugby around me. I couldn't participate in it. The England team were progressing and doing their thing and doing really well. And then there's a part of you who goes, I want them to do well, but then I don't want them to do well because I'm not in the team. So you hit your emotions in so many different ways. And of course you support your team, but you just want to be part of that. And then, I hit a really low time just before the World Cup, actually, 2014. So what got me out of that rock bottom was creating a team around me. I straight away thought I need to get a team around me, not my rugby team and not the staff management that are part of the England Rugby team, but I need to find my team. So my mum was part of that, the person I was in relationship with, effectively a sports psychologist, and I started to work with another coach at my Saracens, Alex Osterbury, and I love to mention his name because he was brilliant. He helped me a lot. He did some one-to-one coaching with me as I started to get better, which gave me confidence because I was sort of, again, on my own. So I've recruited a team, and it's something I've always learnt from being an athlete. Recruit the team around you who you can be vulnerable with, but you do it behind closed doors because you're going to be strong and you will be able to show what you can do when you're back on the field. So, they helped me get out of rock bottom. But again, I bottle that feeling. I remind myself of what it felt like because I don't want to go back there again. So I make sure I've got my team around me. I make sure I've always got my goals. Again, I don't put all my eggs in one basket. So I've identified a strategy to get me through hitting rock bottom, regardless whether it's in sport or outside of sport. Recruit my team around me, make sure I've got that good balance, and then have my small goals to work towards the big vision. Like I said, we can all reach rock bottom at some point. None of us are, immune from that, but how do we help each other when we do get to that point?